It's just utter shock. You're talking about a guy who was beloved as a player and beloved as a person in this community. He was very, very popular because of how he played. He was very popular because of how he handled himself. He never complained. He always played hurt. He played well hurt, which is unusual a lot of times. In situations you think, how can this guy even be on the field? He would go out and do amazing things. And he never complained. He never bragged on himself. He never said, look at me. And then he also did things in the community. He's from Mississippi originally, and so from this part of the world, the people here related well to him, both as a player and as a person, and so he was a huge figure. And I think shock is the only way I can describe the reaction that I've gotten from people in the community, and that's the way I feel absolutely too.
Well, we've talked to a lot of coaches, some analysts today. They've all talked about the impact McNair has had on the community, kids, peers, staff. You pretty much saw every one of his starts in Tennessee. What was your experience of him like?
Mary, I think the thing that was so amazing about Steve McNair is that he fulfilled his promise. You know, he came from Alcorn State. He essentially sat for 2 seasons and learned, and then he became the starter. They brought him along very slowly, and then he developed and blossomed when Jeff Fisher hired Mike Heimerdinger as the offensive coordinator and went on to become the MVP. He became a really great type player earlier in this decade and just sort of took it all to another level, and obviously led this franchise to its only Super Bowl, led them to 5 playoff appearances, just an amazing run overall that Steve McNair was able to take this franchise on as he became the heart and soul of what they did here. And the other part of this that's really important is when this team moved to Tennessee from Houston, Steve McNair and Eddie George and Frank Wycheck were really the 3 guys who sort of got everybody familiar with NFL football here. And as this franchise has had success, 104 games played at LP Field, 104 sellouts, Steve McNair's impact was a big reason that football took hold, NFL football took hold in the Mid-South the way it did.
And what was your reaction today when you first heard this news? I mean, it was absolutely shocking.
I just sat down and I couldn't believe it because I came into the team as a young broadcaster. He was just beginning his time as a quarterback, and it was at that point that I think overall you just saw what he was able to do in terms of development, and it was just. I mean, we had a close relationship and a friendship, and I'm just in disbelief.
And have you spoken with any family or any close friends, peers of McNair today at all? Any coaches, staff members?
I had a chance to visit with a former player. Actually, just I was doing kind of what everybody else was doing. I was at a July 4th party and saw one of his former teammates there, and just talked about what he meant as a person. He did a lot for his younger teammates and didn't say anything. He did a lot for a lot of people overall and didn't say anything. He was more about setting an example, doing the right thing, not ever forgetting where he came from more than he was pointing at himself. He did a lot of things publicly, Mary. He did a bunch of things publicly. He raised a bunch of money. He gave a bunch of money. He helped people in need. You'll remember he and Brett Favre were so emphatic in getting that hurricane relief down into their part of Mississippi. They wanted to help so much, but there was so much more he did where he didn't want anybody to know he did it.
Well, it's hard to believe that Steve McNair is no longer with us.
Yeah.
Mike, we really appreciate you joining us today. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mary.
And Titans owner Bud Adams Jr., he released this statement today saying, quote, "We are saddened and shocked to hear the news of Steve McNair's passing today. He was one of the finest players to play for our organization and one of the most beloved players by our fans. He played with the unquestioned heart and leadership and led us to places that we had never reached, including our only Super Bowl. Our thoughts and prayers are with his family as they deal with this untimely passing." Again, former NFL quarterback Steve McNair shot and killed in downtown Nashville. We are continuing to get more information for you on this developing story, and we'll keep you updated right here on NFL Network, so stay with us.